All right, ladies and gents, today in your reading, you will be asked to discuss the plot of the story you just read. Okay, so what does that mean? Let's review. That word plot describes the structure of a story and shows the arrangement or order or sequence of events and actions. So you're looking at a diagram here. I call it the mountain. Okay, at the beginning of the story, we say in fifth grade the exposition. Then we've got the rising action. The middle of the story is where the climax occurs, falling action, and then the end, we say resolution in fifth grade. So sometimes you might be asked to diagram the plot of a story. Today, you will be asked to just explain the plot. Okay, so you might be asked to do two different things. So again, in reading, when we talk about the plot, at the beginning, it's called an exposition. Maybe in fourth grade, you refer to it as an introduction. Same thing, just a bigger word. That is the beginning of our story. The setting is revealed, such as its time, its location. We meet our main character. And sometimes right away, we learn what the conflict is, which is a synonym for problem. So in fifth grade, we say conflict instead of problem. After that introduction or exposition, we meet the character, we meet the setting, we learn about what's the main problem in the story. Then we go up that mountain, okay, right here. And then we call it the rising action. In the rising action, that conflict becomes a little bit more complicated. It builds some intensity, some suspense or tension. It keeps us, the reader, very attentive, and it leads to the climax of the story. Climax is the middle of the story at the top of that mountain, greatest moment, greatest interest. We are so engaged at the story. Maybe there's a huge action or a mental decision that the character was going through, and see how he's at the top of the mountain there. It's just like you don't want to close the book then. You don't want to stop watching the movie at this point. It's the most exciting point. After that occurs, falling action going down that mountain, all of those actions that follow the climax would come into this criteria called the falling action. Okay. The protagonist, which is a big word for saying our main character, starts to move to the end of the conflict. That conflict starts to get resolved at that point. So remember, at the beginning of the story, we are learning what the main conflict is, falling action. We're trying to solve that problem. Then in the very end, it's our conclusion. In fifth grade, we say resolution. All of those threads are tied together, bringing the story to a nice closure. That solution is solved. We learn what that solution is to the main problem, and the story is all tied up and came to an ending. So again, sometimes in reading, you might be given a plot diagram and you'll get some actions or events in the story and you'll have to place it in a diagram. Today, after reading your story work story, you will be asked to identify the plot of the story. Okay, so think about, you're not writing an essay. You're not writing, a whole paragraph. You're just summing up what happened in the beginning. Who was the main character? Okay, what was that conflict? Well, how did that conflict become a little bit more intense? What was the most exciting part of the story? How did it get solved? And how did it end? Okay, so we're not writing big paragraphs here, just summing up in a sentence or two the major events that happen in the beginning, middle, and end of our short story. Hopefully, this helped you, and good luck.